My mother and father are Christian. They're heavily into the church, they're heavily into that community as well. And so we were raised in that. My mother and father are in their 70s now. My focus is to make sure that they're okay. They don't look at anything and require anything. So if they need to go away anywhere, it's there. They require like extra money, then it's there. So they're fine because I can connect with them straight away. My brother, he's just purchased a house. My sister just got married. So it's been my life goal, and I'm in the Samoan community. I guess, I don't know if you guys are aware, but being the eldest person, that's just kind of given to you. Mum and Dad have always said that irrespective of how much you think you have from money or from anything else, if our family's not right, then that means we're not right. If you're doing everything with good intent, you're never going to be wrong. That pathway will always lead you to the right way. Being good servants of people is what we've been told to be. Wealth is around family and how my family is doing within either their own selves or their own community.
So, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Oh, that's all right.
I really appreciate it. So, ways to wealth. So, how would you define wealth?
Wealth is a lot of things. So obviously, first and foremost, it means what you have by way of what you've got in your worldly position. So money, everything else. But how I was raised, wealth is around family and how my family is doing within either their own selves or their own community. That's how I've been sort of raised to see wealth.
Okay, and so what are you working on at the moment to build your wealth?
So at the moment, I work so closely with my family members. So so I'm single, no children. So I have my own home and those sorts of things. So I'm fine. In my mind,
Yeah.
I'm okay. But my siblings, they're different. They're in a different position to me, and my mum and dad are in a different position. So my mother and father are in their 70s now, and so my general focus is to make sure that they're okay and make sure that they don't look at anything and require anything. So if they need to go away anywhere, it's there. If they need to, if there's any possible thing that comes that they require like extra money, then it's there. So they're fine because I can connect with them straight away.
Yeah.
With my brother, he's just purchased a house. Sitting down and sort of helping him in that aspect, making sure that he's all right there. My sister just got married. So they're going into a situation where they're trying to save money.
Yes.
And then my other brother, he's fine. So he's got a partner and they live out in Saltburn. So I'm 43 now. So it's been my life goal, and I'm in the Samoan community. I guess, I don't know if you guys are aware, but being the eldest person, that's just kind of given to you. You're kind of self-charged into doing that sort of stuff. So it's just become, well, one would see it as a job, but I don't really. It's just a part of my life.
Okay. And so is that kind of that extended family concept where a lot of your wealth mindset comes from?
Yeah, it comes from mum and dad. So how I was raised. So I wasn't born in New Zealand. I was born in Samoa. Mm-hmm. And we moved over to New Zealand when I was 5. So you can make the math. I'm not going to say it. And when we came over, like my mother and father are heavy. They're Christian, so they're heavily into the church. They're heavily into that community as well. And so we were raised in that environment. And so mum and dad have always said that irrespective of how much you think you have from money or from anything else, if our family's not right, then that means we're not right in that aspect. So yeah.
Okay.
And I've kind of held that throughout the whole time, and so my goal is to never ever have that happen.
Yeah, it's a really awesome goal.
Oh, thanks.
Really generous. So what was the first action that you remember taking to build your wealth?
Oh, well, so I'm not a university person or anything like that. So mum and dad have always, they wanted to see me go to university, or the first thing they ever said to me is, "Oh, I really wish you get a job that, you wear a suit and tie, because then you know that you've made it." And I'm like, and I looked at the jobs that require a suit and tie, and I didn't like them. So,
yeah.
And I was never one to match with those. I think the first thing that I did was just be able to get a job. So my first job that I got, my first real job, sorry, was with the Ministry of Social Development, so in government.
Yep.
And I spent 16 years of my life in there.
Oh, wow.
And it was a grind. Like it was just I was there doing my job, getting my paycheck, saving my money, knowing that I needed to save in order to get to where I was. It was never about trying to find more money. It was working within that 16 years to make as much money as I can whilst serving my community, which was a big part of just a connection point with what Mum and Dad have always told us to be like.
Yeah.
You know, being good servants of people is what we've been told to be.
Yes.
Of all the kids, I'm the only one that did it though. No. Sorry.
It's recorded.
Please don't tell them that. No. No, so yeah, it started from there, and so that's where. And look, my mum and dad have always been savers of money, and they've always said to us that you can't rely on other people to help you out. And so we've never needed from anything,
Yep.
But that's because of how they've kind of raised us.
Yep. And so where did you go after 16 years at the Ministry of Social Development?
I went to recruitment. So
Yeah.
Recruitment, like a lot of people in recruitment, you fall into it.
Mm-hmm.
I was messaged on LinkedIn randomly by a lovely lady from Hudson Recruitment. I can name the name.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if I'm allowed to use other recruiters' names. No, from Hudson Recruitment, had a coffee. A week later, I got a contract. And the reason why she chose me, she said, is because I can talk a lot, clearly,
Yes.
and that I'm good with people. And that was the main thing, because I was very worried to move from where I was, because I was so comfortable. So I was getting very good money. I wasn't, needing anything. But I guess it was time for me at that point to try something different and really stretch it out. So I didn't know what I was getting into. I didn't realize how recruitment was and how you actually made money within it.
Yep.
Until I got in it. And then on that point, it kind of accelerated a lot of things from just a financial perspective. Yeah, and that just helped it even more. So for goals that I had back when I first started at MSD, I was able to reach them a hell of a lot faster because I was in the position I was.
Yep.
And how to make it. So I never knew I could find a job where I could chat, make money from chatting. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, but yeah, it was real. And then from there I moved to crew, and then crew recruitment, and then crew technology recruitment, then partnered with Potential, which has led me up to Auckland, and now I'm on this podcast.
Yeah. That is that.
But you live in Christchurch?
I do. I live in Christchurch, yeah.
And I always think that recruiters have an interesting perspective because they have to deal with people's livelihoods every day, in a sense.
Yeah.
And then have to kind of matchmake between, organisations and obviously individuals that have their own goals.
Yeah, and I think any recruiter that says they get it right all the time is lying. We don't get it right, and it's just being honest. I think the best recruiters are the ones that know where their faults lie and which one and how far they can do certain things. People's emotions are the biggest part to handle. You're having one job, so 100 people are applying for that job.
Yeah.
The people what people don't sort of see is, while you have this joyous one moment, you have 99 sad moments where you're having to let someone down because they were, really wanting that job. And so, that's the part that I think when recruiters, if they're young and they don't know what's going on, they tend to forget that there's a rejection part of this role, and that's the hardest part. You get rejected left, right, and centre. You get rejected by candidates who don't want to work with you because they're perfect, but they don't want to deal with it. You get rejected by clients, so they don't want to give you any work. But then you get positive stuff on the other side as well. And so it is just being able to understand, if you're not strong enough to take the rejection, then recruitment's never going to work for you. Yeah.
So what did you do to build your resilience around that?
I think MSD helped, to be honest, where I was. So the Ministry of Social Development, that's way harder than this. I think, and I'm going to say it anyway, but the worst thing I've ever seen is because you're dealing in the benefit system. So, it's tough. if you're on the benefit system, it's tough. It's a life you don't really want, but it's a life sometimes you don't have a choice to have. And I think the worst thing I've ever seen sitting at a desk of mine is a baby being thrown across the room, and it's a disheartening thing to see, but it's a real thing.
Yeah.
That you just don't know how desperate people can get. And so that taught me resilience straight away. You needed to understand that what they're saying to you isn't about me, it's just how they are and what they're going through. And that's what built me up to have that sort of resilience when, when someone does come at you in regards to, hey man, why didn't you give me a call about this job? That's okay. It's just like, the first thing is just being able to own up to what you've done wrong and saying sorry and then moving forward. Yeah.
Sounds like you had some good life lessons early on in your career.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very blessed, obviously, to my mother and father. They're very level-headed people. They went through their things in Samoa. The reason why they wanted to leave Samoa was to give us, the life that they didn't have over there.
Yeah.
And so in turn, we have to give back and make sure that they live a life that they didn't have back there as well. So, and not just be on the grind. So mum and dad, I mean, my mum's, she wants for nothing. She gets whatever she wants. And dad loves to work, but he's semi-retired now, so he doesn't have to, but he still loves being on the tools. He's a plasterer.
Yeah.
He's always been a tradesman. And the first thing he wanted to say to me was that he didn't want me to do trades. I was only allowed to work with him for a year.
Yeah.
Until I figured out exactly what I wanted to do. And even then I didn't know what I was doing, but I went into MSD anyway. But he said, you can only do this with me for a year. And
Why was that, do you think?
Because he knew how the grind was with him. I mean, look,
Hard on your body, right?
Yeah, I mean...
For labourers. No,
definitely got a desk body, but yeah.
That's good, right? Like, I know a lot of people in my family are tradespeople.
It's a tough...
And you get broken.
It's a tough industry. I mean, I think, like, my father he was in a time when trades was just hard and you had to graft and you had to do, grind out as much hours as you can because that's how you make money. But he wasn't, he was never going to be prepared for the fact that it went boom.
Yeah.
And in that time he made a lot of money, so it was good for him. And then in my space, it wasn't, trades was never going to be for me in the end. And he knew that, he kind of saw it, and I think he wanted something just different for us. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So family's obviously huge to you.
Yeah.
So with that younger generation, what are you doing to help them form their ideas around wealth and potentially build it?
Yeah, also for what we do, I mean, I use a lot of my work. So back MSD, obviously we were really, really closely connected to the community, and we did a lot of things around the Pacific community, especially because I'm Samoan. So we try and get kids to understand what the importance is of their next choice, whether that be going to university or whether that be going to a trade or whether that be going into anything to do with business. So it all started there. That's where my community reach started. Then when I went to Hudson, I didn't know how to use that job to help anyone, other than putting them into work. But the thing about recruitment, only people that want to find a job will come to you. So, and only people in the field that you work in will come to you.
Yeah.
And the thing I've noticed in IT is that Pacific Islanders aren't really noticed in there much. So the first thing I did was to connect with the community that I did have and ask them to gather be able to go talk to the school kids and things like that as well. So all the Pacific kids that we did do, I did and just modified the way I spoke. So I spoke to them around, because my angle is IT. So having IT as a choice. No one sees IT as a choice. So I was able to at least do that. Give them the choice to see that IT's somewhere they can earn good money, help support their family by using that money, and then also grow within IT as well. And they can become, sort of go up to that C-level suite, CIO's level, and then eventually get that suit and tie that our parents always want us to wear. So it was just different, just a different way. So that's how I connect with them, and it still to this point happens now. where we go and talk to kids from Ara, which is the Polytech down south,
Yeah.
and also some kids that are at university as well that haven't really decided on their career, that we try and go help. The community-wise, Ministry of Social Development still sometimes reach out to us, just in regards to any talks. I've got a talk coming up with the Chinese community as well, so it's the new ones that are coming through from, so I try and get out as much as I can with the community as possible, and just at least be informative and just have that as a choice, and see how they go with it.
That's such a cool thing to be part of, like growing that awareness and the possibility, right? Like, I think it's similar-ish to the whole, if you don't see someone who looks like you doing it, you never even think that that's a possibility.
100%.
So have you seen any of the kids that you've spoken to kind of foray into that?
Yeah, so the ones that we spoke to, I normally follow up with. So some of them, like the easiest way for, especially some of our kids, because they're like me, they love to chat, they love to talk, they like to, they're a bit of energy. And so the place I like to put them are like service desk first, so that they get to learn it. So a lot of the ones that we talk to end up being with the company called like Spark or CCL, and we see their careers come through. And those guys are now, your team leads, your heads of, type in their areas and things, and it's really cool to see, to see them grow into that. But I mean, mate, they're so smart. Some of them have no idea how smart they are, but once they unlock, that potential, they go, which is awesome. So
once they gather their confidence,
it is a confidence thing. Yeah, you're
game,
right. Yeah, 100%. And it is just a matter of being in front of them to tell them, because I don't for themselves, it does take an outside person that, you're right, that can sometimes either look like you, sound like you, act like you, the way you are, for them to believe it. But it does happen. So it's really cool to be able to see the progression that they get.
Cool. All right. And so what's your next kind of step, do you think, in terms of growing your wealth?
Oh, gee, well, I mean, to be honest, I don't know. There's so many things, because obviously I want to invest more money in different things, but I'm useless at it. So, I mean, obviously I dabble in the old Hatch and Sharesies, like most people who have no idea. But a lot of it's just really around, like I save a lot of money, so I just have this money, but I'm just so mindful of what could possibly come. And so my whole thing is making sure that there's enough there for the people that I need to support. Like
emergency fund?
Essentially, but I mean, I use it, so I travel a lot, so
Well, it's a balance though, right? It's having that backstop if you need it, but also living your life, right?
Correct.
The lady that we talked to earlier, she was talking a lot about being present. And I think this is a very broad brushstroke comment, but nowadays a lot of us are like, you might be doing something, but your brain's somewhere else, you're thinking forward. So having those opportunities to do it fills your cup, right?
Yeah, it does. And look, I mean, the whole thing around my being with crew was never around the making money. My whole career, I've never wanted to make money. It was never just about, it just came to be that I was in positions to make money, which has been really fortunate for me. And it's just worked out. I don't know how, but it just has. So I've been very, very lucky.
Luck and talent, obviously. Because, I mean, people are, you get opportunities, but it's up to you whether you make something of it or not, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, look, you just got to take that chance, like, jumping on a podcast randomly or doing other things like random acting gigs, just reading off a teleprompter that you didn't realise was a reading for something, and then they invite you back 4 times a month. It's quite cool. So I get to do that sort of stuff as well. So it's been quite
side hustle.
It is. A company called Red Seed, I get to, and they do sort of online training things. So I get to do that. My friend just said, "Hey, can you come and read this script for us?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, no problem." Stood in front of a camera, started talking, and then they said, "Oh, when can you start?" And I didn't know this was a And so what they do is they do online training for places like, you know, your New Worlds and your customer service staff.
Yeah.
And you kind of run through, like, you know, how to deal with an angry customer that comes through the door, or and so I'm just reading a script, sometimes do a little bit of acting, and so it's been quite cool.
Yeah.
It's just being able to step outside of your comfort zone a little bit, just try something new and see where it goes.
Are you quite mindful about your expenses then? Because it seems like you haven't, I mean, you may have focused on the earning side. I mean, you've got a side hustle, which is cool. You probably always found ways to find side hustles, or were you focused on actually just making sure you weren't spending beyond your means, I guess?
Yeah, I've never wanted to spend too much. I've never wanted a loan. I've never wanted to, borrow money.
Yeah.
I think the only thing I have is like a $500 overdraft or something. But that's just all I've ever. I mean, I've probably got a very bad credit rating because I don't borrow enough money. So it is good to borrow properly though. So
maybe
it's
Yeah, I agree. I'm in that same path. So for me, I've never wanted debt. Just because it's just how I've kind of, I guess, seen the world. I decided very early that I didn't want to accumulate debt. Specifically, consumer debt was the original focus.
Yeah.
But yeah, that kind of doesn't lend to your credit score, but that's not exactly a bad thing. It kind of it kind of protects you from yourself. But then if you also kind of what we find is that as you earn more, you typically then start spending a lot more. It's something that then becomes the skew is that over time things get a little bit more expensive anyway. But if you're earning more and then that kind of your lifestyle starts to match that increase, it's like how can you get ahead?
Yeah. I mean, I guess for me, my lifestyle does change with the money that I have, but I guess I've never seen it as trying to get more ahead, if that makes sense. It just is, it's just ensuring that I'm okay and that I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
So I mean, if something falls out the planet, I know I'm going to be okay. So I'm okay to go, backwards if I have to, because I've come from there or whatever it is. But I don't know what it is. It's just having that sense that you're okay. I don't know if how to explain that in sort of wealth terms, if that makes sense.
Oh, that totally makes sense. Like it reduces a lot of anxiety if you know you're okay. And for a lot of people, it's actually also about knowing where you're at. I think that's the first thing we think about. We talk about your financial baseline.
Yeah.
Because knowing is like, knowledge is power.
Correct.
And then that gives you a better idea of, okay, well, where do you want to end up? And then are you on track to get there? And, if you're not quite on track, then you can kind of start to think about, well, how could I make those little adjustments to kind of compound and get there?
Correct.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
If you think back over like kind of your career and that, was there any awesome advice that somebody gave you that you're like, damn, that's good, I'm going to take that?
Advice.
Not necessarily financial, just life advice.
Yeah, I mean, I think, what was it that CD said to me? I've had many like different people that have been so influential in the way I've moved in forward and things. I think the biggest thing that my father's ever said to me is never forget yourself. So never forget who you are and where you've come from and how you've started, because if you do, you lose automatically, regardless of how much you have, how much you earn, and once you've lost yourself, you're gone. And so Dad's always, my father's always been that person, and the message ringing in my ear, Polynesian people are they've been raised to be humble and and I've tried to be different. Not different in the sense that I'm cocky or anything like that, but just, yes, it's wonderful to be humble, but also it's wonderful to raise that bar where you want to just search for more, but always in the back of my mind, never forgetting where I came from, never, always remembering I was born in a small island. I'm now in a little bit of a bigger island, but I get to travel in humongous islands. And so never forgetting that, that's the one thing that I think I'll hold the most.
And do you have any advice that you'd give to someone who was kind of starting out in their life, like maybe 18, 20-year-olds?
Gee, what was I doing at 18? If I was 18 or 20, again, if I went backwards, I think one of the things that I would probably do better, just even as a person, is to listen with intent. That's the biggest thing. I think when I was younger, I only listened to kind of what I wanted to hear, and it led me down certain different ways. I think if you listen with, the intent of learning and understanding that people and any information that you get, regardless of whether it's good or bad, it'll help you make an absolutely a really well-informed decision of where you want to go next. That's probably what I would.
Cool. Yeah,
I think that's a good advice for anybody at any age, right?
At any age, but I feel like when I was that age, I only wanted to hear what I wanted to hear. I think as you get older, you do listen more, or not, but you do listen a heck of a lot more because you know that anything that you hear, whether it be from one person or another, it changes how you think on things.
Yes.
So when you're 18 and 20, I felt like I heard what I wanted to hear in order to get what I wanted to get.
Yeah.
But looking back, I think if I listened with a little bit more intent to some of even just simplest phrases that people were trying to tell me, I think I would have been able to pick things up a lot quicker and move a lot differently.
Yeah, I kind of find that I remember my early to mid 20s as almost being a little bit judgmental. I was like,
I knew everything, man. Yeah. No one else knew nothing apart from me.
I was like, I have dissected all the things I don't like about, older people in my life, and I've decided I know better. And
man.
I hadn't obviously lived and experienced anything. So then you get into your 30s and you're like,
realization.
I get it. We have this ideological way that we want to look at ourselves, especially in our early 20s. Yeah. But then life happens and you learn and you experience trials and tribulations, and then you're like, there's actually we're not as, I guess, secure as we all like to think we are, right?
Yeah.
In everything, and life can change quite dramatically just in an instant. And I think as you get older, you start to appreciate that a bit more. Yeah. And I agree. Like if I could have, been a bit more empathetic to the bigger picture when I was younger, I think that would have served me well.
Or even just knowing that there is a bigger picture, and not just the picture that's in front of your face. Like there is such a bigger picture. And at 18 and 19, you're right. Like you just feel like you know everything, and you're like, man, why are you trying to tell me what to do, man? I know what I want to do. Like, this is where I want to go. This is what I want to do. But it's so funny because now, looking back, I never wanted to be that person. Oh, you young kids, you have no idea. I'm that person now. Like I'm that person, and I've never. And when I saw someone do that, I was like, whatever, man. You don't know anything. But now, I'm that person now. So
full circle.
Full circle. Dang it. Yeah, honestly, but the only other thing I would say is trust yourself. Like, if you're doing everything with good intent, you're never going to be wrong. Never. So as long as you're doing it with good intent, not out to hurt anyone or not out for any malice and things, you're going to be fine. That pathway will always lead you through the right way. It may look different from other people's perspective, but if you're doing it with a good intent, and you're never doing it for, to hurt other people or to gain anything from it, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for coming on short notice.
No worries.
I really appreciate it.
I hope that was okay.
It was great. No, it was really good.
Cool.